There are plants that break every rule of modern farming. They survive cold that kills grain. They return year after year without replanting. And once you put them in the ground, you never have to buy seed again. For thousands of years, they were humanity's insurance against famine and illness. Not always by feeding people directly, but by keeping systems functional when they failed elsewhere. And 5 plants in particular appear again and again in historical records, gardens, and survival accounts. 1. The dainty for the queen. There was a plant the English elite once praised. In 1629, an English botanist noted that it was at first a dainty for the queen, food for the wealthy, served as something refined, controlled, exclusive. But it didn't stay there. The plant grew too easily. It produced too reliably. And soon, it escaped the gardens of the elite. Within a few decades, it appeared on the tables of ordinary people. That was the moment it lost its status. What had once been praised was suddenly ridiculed, not because it tasted worse, but because it could no longer separate rich from poor. When everyone could eat it, those who once celebrated it learned to despise it instead. They even gave it a name that stuck: fartichoke. The same compound that kept the plant alive through winter, inulin, caused discomfort in people who weren't used to it, a survival advantage for the plant, a social joke for everyone else. So here is the point. Most crops fail when weather turns bad. This one failed when systems started working again. Because once food systems began to work again, food had to be visible, countable, and movable. In comparison, potatoes could be harvested all at once, stacked, stored, taxed, and shipped. Jerusalem artichokes only worked if you left them in the ground and took what you needed. They spoiled quickly once removed from their natural storage. They ripened unevenly. They resisted machines. A plant that functions best as a hidden reserve became useless to systems built on measurement, logistics, and control. And yet, they never disappeared. During both world wars, when fields were destroyed and supply lines collapsed, people turned back to them. In France, in Germany, in occupied regions where potatoes failed and grain was gone. Today, medicine has rediscovered what history already knew. Jerusalem artichokes don't spike blood sugar. Their energy comes from inulin, a carbohydrate the body doesn't convert into glucose. Because of that, they can be used as a food option for people with diabetes, a property already noted in the early 20th century, long before it could be explained biochemically. So a plant that survived climate shifts, colonial failure, and total war became a niche curiosity. 2. The medicine root. The next plant was never grown for taste. It was grown for strength. It burns. It clears your sinuses. And most people today only know it as something that comes from a tube. But for centuries, horseradish was not a condiment. It was medicine. And losing track of that is why we misunderstand the plant completely. Horseradish has been part of Europe far longer than modern borders. It spread across Eastern and Central Europe, especially through Slavic regions, village agriculture, and monastery gardens. Even in antiquity, the plant was already known. Ancient wall paintings depict it. Greek physicians described it. Hippocrates himself praised horseradish for strengthening the body. Once planted, it is nearly impossible to remove. Any broken piece of root left in the soil will grow back. It tolerates poor ground, survives harsh winters, needs no annual replanting. Historically, farmers actually dug the plants up in summer, removed side roots, the so-called fexa, and replanted them carefully to produce a single thick main root. This was difficult, labor-intensive work. Even today, despite some mechanization in planting and ridging, horseradish is still often harvested by hand because the long roots must be pulled carefully from the soil, which made it unreliable for large systems, but incredibly reliable for households. Before global spice trade, Europe had limited options. Pepper and chili were unavailable or unaffordable until the early modern period. So horseradish, alongside mustard, was one of the primary sources of pungency in Central European cuisine. But heat was secondary. What truly mattered was physiology. Horseradish contains around 170 to 180 milligrams of vitamin C per 100 grams. That is more than twice the vitamin C content of lemons. In inland Europe, where citrus fruit did not exist for ordinary people, this was critical. Horseradish protects against scurvy, loosens mucus in bronchitis and respiratory illness, and heals inflammations of mouth and throat. It contains mustard oil glycosides, especially sinegrin, which form antimicrobial compounds in the body. In practice, horseradish worked as a natural antibiotic long before antibiotics existed. That tells you something important. This plant entered history as medicine first, not cuisine. Today, horseradish still exists, but stripped of its original role. In the kitchen, it is freshly grated and served with smoked fish, especially smoked trout, boiled beef, like Tafelspitz in Vienna and Franconia, or aspic dishes like Sülzen and Sauerfleisch. But most people encounter it today as supermarket horseradish, mild white sauces, squeeze tubes from the fridge, or cream-based Sana Meerrettich. The fresh root, once central, is now optional. Its role shifted from biological infrastructure to culinary tradition. But not every perennial was built for survival. Some were built for certainty. 3. A crop for people who thought in generations. It's one of the oldest cultivated vegetables on Earth. It appears for a few weeks each year, costs more than it should, and disappears again, as if scarcity were natural. Long before butter or hollandaise, it grew wild across the Mediterranean region, the Middle East, and parts of North Africa. But it didn't enter history as food. Ancient Greek sources describe it primarily as a medicinal plant. It was used therapeutically, especially for coughs, bladder issues, and kidney-related complaints. The Romans adopted it, spread it across their empire, and refined its cultivation. After planting the young rootstocks, so-called crowns, you wait 2 to 3 full years before a single spear is harvested. During that time, the plant produces no usable yield. It builds underground reserves. Only then does harvesting begin. Once established, an asparagus bed can remain productive for over a decade, sometimes longer, but only with careful management. Roman recipes describe asparagus cooked with olive oil and wine. When Rome collapsed, asparagus survived mainly in monastery gardens. Monks preserved it for its medicinal value, not because it fed many people, but because it supported functioning bodies. From there, asparagus re-entered food culture only very slowly. By the 16th century, it appeared in court gardens in Central Europe. But this mattered. Asparagus was not grown for the population. It was grown for elites because they could afford what for others was impossible. Reserve land long-term, employ labor that didn't need to justify itself in calories, and wait multiple harvest cycles for a return. Even today, harvesting is mostly manual. Each spear must be cut individually to avoid damaging the plant. This is not inefficiency by mistake. It's a crop designed for long-term continuity, not crisis response. In modern cuisine, asparagus is firmly established, especially white asparagus in Germany. Peeled, boiled, served with melted butter or sauce hollandaise, accompanied by ham or new potatoes. This preparation only became common in the 19th century, once the bleaching technique, earthing up, was standardized. Compared to Jerusalem artichoke or horseradish, which can yield food within a single year, asparagus is a bad emergency crop. Long cultivation period, low energy density, high labor input. In times of war, famine, or workforce shortages, asparagus fields were often abandoned first. Instead, land was repurposed for potatoes, grains, and other calorie-dense crops. Asparagus didn't fail in crises. It was simply irrelevant to survival. And yet, asparagus belongs in this list for a reason. Once the waiting period is over, it comes back every single year. That makes asparagus a perennial crop, but one that only works when you believe the future will still exist. 4. The plant that never left. It doesn't invade fields, it doesn't take over landscapes, it doesn't demand attention, and yet it never leaves. Across Europe and North America, old homesteads and abandoned gardens still contain living rhubarb plants decades after the people who planted them are gone. That alone should already tell you, this plant survives differently. Rhubarb did not enter human history as food. For most of its existence, it wasn't even planted for eating. Its origins lie in the cold regions of Inner Asia, northern China, Tibet, and Siberia. There, rhubarb was known more than 4,000 years ago as a medicinal plant, not the stalks, the root, dried, processed, traded. In ancient China, rhubarb root was used as a powerful purgative. In Europe, physicians prescribed it for constipation and diarrhea, bile and liver disorders, jaundice and inflammatory skin conditions. For centuries, rhubarb lived in pharmacies, not kitchens. By the Middle Ages, it had become one of the most valuable trade goods in Europe. Historical price lists show rhubarb was at times worth more than cinnamon, saffron, or even opium. This wasn't because it was rare, it was because medical systems relied on it. Rhubarb grows quietly. It is perennial, cold-hardy, capable of surviving harsh winters without intervention. Once established, it returns every year. It doesn't need careful management, and it doesn't spread aggressively. But here's the paradox. The part we eat today, the stalk, is not edible without processing. Eaten raw, it is aggressively sour. So how did something that's almost impossible to eat raw turn into a dessert plant most of us know today, when for thousands of years nobody considered rhubarb a food plant? The answer is simple. Sugar became cheap. From the late 18th century, industrial sugar production lowered prices dramatically. Only then did people begin experimenting with the sour stalks. The result was a historical shift, from medicine to kitchen ingredient. The first documented recipes for rhubarb compotes and pies appear around 1780 in England. By around 1820, rhubarb pies had become common in Britain, driven directly by affordable sugar. From there, the plant spread to North America, where it became known simply as the pie plant. Germany followed much later. Rhubarb began appearing in home gardens as a food plant only around 1930 and is now used in cakes and compotes. But one important point needs to be said. Rhubarb was never danger-free. Historically, misuse wasn't theoretical. It happened, and it happened fast. During World War I in Britain, when vegetables were scarce and people were told to stretch whatever they could grow, authorities actually encouraged the population to cook rhubarb leaves as a kind of emergency green. It sounded logical. The plant was in the garden. It produced a lot of biomass, and most people didn't know the difference between stalk and leaf. What they didn't know, those leaves contain high levels of oxalic acid and other toxins. The result? Cases of poisoning, hospitalizations, documented harm caused not by the plant itself, but by bad crisis advice. Rhubarb only works as food where knowledge is intact. 5. The walking plant. It doesn't behave like a crop. It doesn't stay where you put it, and it doesn't wait for instructions, which already explains why modern agriculture quietly ignored it. Its name is the Egyptian walking onion. No historical document explains the name conclusively. What we do know, the plant does not originate from Egypt. Most researchers agree that the name likely comes from an older habit. When plants couldn't be classified properly, they were labeled exotic. Genetically, the walking onion is a hybrid, a cross between common onion, Allium cepa, and winter onion, Allium fistulosum. That matters, because both parent plants are known for cold tolerance and reliability. By the 19th century, European settlers brought the plant to North America. Even Thomas Jefferson, U.S. president and avid gardener, grew it himself, not as a novelty, but as a reliable household food source. The walking onion does not grow in rows. It replicates. Instead of producing seeds, the plant forms small onions on top of its stalks. As these aerial bulbs grow heavier, the stalk bends under its own weight. The bulbs touch the ground. They root. A new plant forms. The plant moves. No planting, no sowing, no seasonal reset. The walking onion contains higher levels of vitamin C than common storage onions. That mattered most after winter, when fresh plant food was scarce. But its real health advantage wasn't biochemical, it was structural. By producing food autonomously, it prevented scarcity before deficiency ever appeared. Today, most people have never seen a walking onion. You won't find it in supermarkets. Its bulbs are too small, irregular in size, unsuitable for packaging, and inconvenient for mechanized harvest. Where it still exists, it spreads through sharing. Garden to garden, neighbor to neighbor. The walking onion fails at everything industrial agriculture values. No uniform harvest, no synchronized ripening, no mechanization, no standardized storage. Most importantly, it reproduces itself. Industrial systems depend on controlled reproduction. Seeds you buy, bulbs you replace, cycles you manage. The walking onion bypasses all of that. Once planted, it becomes permanent. And that is why most people don't know them.